Beautiful day, brothers and sisters. Ah, welcome to another video. Another video. I don't know what to say, but I'm here, but I'm here, and I'm here by our Father's grace. All right. Now, of course, we always talk about edifying, like normal, but it's of the fruits of the Spirit. And the main thing for today, besides talking about the Spirit, is first what? The understanding of the modern society. Now, I always give you guys a story as of the encounter that I had once, right? I was talking on a live panel on a social platform which we call TikTok. And I've encountered a lot of people, and it's like the people that I encounter, when it comes to them wanting to be free, wanting them to somewhat of an aspect, wanting truth, a lot of these people are looking for hope. They are genuinely looking for hope. They're looking for hope. So, like I tell a lot of Christians, right? Especially Christians that speak of the gospel as if the gospel only talks about being, you know, rich. I don't think that in the Bible it tells people that we're supposed to be 100% rich. You know what's so funny? Majority, not half, not 20%, but majority of the people that are in the Bible, the apostles, the disciples, majority of them, they were either some of them were either homeless, some of them didn't have money, some of them didn't have no accomplices. Some of them didn't have anything. And look at the fact that their names are written for a book, in a book, for years and years. Why is that? See, the questions that we should be asking the church, we don't ask the church. But rather, the church tell us that it's our personal responsibility to bring order to the world when the church is the head and the face of what we call Christianity. Now, I talked to some of these people, like I've mentioned earlier. Um, a lot of these people are missing hope because they understand that there is a Christ, but they don't believe in Christ because of the fact that all of the problems that are happening in the world is happening. So now it comes to us being Christians. What are we doing? Know us knowing the truth. What are we doing that are actually key factors in the equivalence of the border of this world? We know the truth. We talk about it. Most people like to debate about it, but we know the truth. Why is it not working for us? There's a key factor in this which mainly a lot of people don't carry with them, which is love and patience, genuinity. And that's a very big factor in a lot of things that goes on in this world. Because why? Most religions, if not all, they all come from one origin. It's like having a story about Hercules, for example, and there's been different aspect on how people view Hercules. And now that story has been passed down from generations based on the perspective of how people are looking at the story of Hercules. I'm just saying, right? These things are very important. Now, why is it important? Why is it important? It's important because everyone argues about religion, but yet we forget that we have to make the head of the churches, the popes, the Vaticans, the priests, take responsibility on the fact that they've been literally instigating war for years. And there's no factor of not changing that. We're told that they have spread peace, but yet they hold accountable, they hold important information that has to do with Christ, and they don't share it to people, knowing that it's supposed to help the people build a connection with our Elohim, but yet they hold it in a cataclysm. And you know what's even funnier? There are skulls that are found there, dead bodies, bones, and where they keep all of their secret weaponizing artilleries. I think it's called utillaries. I don't know, artilleries, utilities, one or the other. Correct me in the comment section if you can. So you walk in this passage of seeing, exactly where their information is mapped with all of the books and the scripts, their manuscripts that has been stored for decades. And you see dead bodies that have not been moved, bones and all. But yet they'll tell you they're paying respect to the people that used to be there for the dead. Your Pope is watching. I said watching. Your Pope is praying and kneeling to a black statue. And we're told to not have any type of form of what? Idolized imagery, right? So we're not supposed to have an idolized imagery. Why is it that, mind you, I say your Pope because I don't trust not near one of them for whatsoever being of the case. As far as anything, me practicing my journey and the actual word and the commandment of my Father, I do not associate with that, not one bit, or that association or corporation, because that's what it is at this point, because they've made so much money, right? More than some of these capitalized businesses put together, and yet there are people still starving. And this are claims that atheists are making about us Christians. But yet, oh, let's help the starving kids in Africa and your neighbors. They're living a life of destruction. They barely have anything to live off. Oh, no, no, and mind you, and it's not wrong. If you can help, go ahead and do so. But you're telling me you're going to travel. Mind you, let's just do the math right here real quick. Let's just say that you're telling me you make about however much $1 million that you make, right? You live in a certain area that there are a lot of poor homeless people, right? And a plane ticket to Africa will cost you about a good 1,000, couple hundreds of dollars, depending on where you're from, right? You're gonna spend that much money, or unless you got a private jet and you go there, You spend more money over there than you do over here for your people that look just like you. And, so you expect me to trust you? Imagine then that you don't do anything at all about it. And you're there just to wave at people and tell people to get their, what is it called? Their trinkets of a cross, holy water, a bracelet, a necklace. And that should be enough to help them. A statue, engraved images. And you tell me, and I should be listening to these same people that are generations of the Pharisees and the scribes themselves, the children of the vipers themselves, the descendants of those that come from that lineage, that have deviated from the actual righteous path of what the Levites were ordained to do. And they became deceitful times 10 to the third power. And they're out here fooling a lot of people, fooling a lot of those that don't know any better. And they make it hard for those that don't believe to believe because there's so much problems that they have power over, and they don't fixate these things as such. The same way that there could be a possibility of 25,000 churches in the entire world. That's more than that's needed. Way more than needed. There should be more churches. Of course, that's a beautiful thing. We are the embodiment of the church itself, right? But the problem with me is this: there's so many churches, but yet people are failing to follow orders, right? But yet they call themselves Christians. So they come to me to realize how many true Christians really exist, or is this just a facade for people dancing like they have the Holy Spirit, making up fake tongues to try to bring themselves to a likable image before many others to fool them? I'm not the person that you want to fool. Because when I look at you, the Spirit does not convict me. I already see things that I should not be seeing as a person. I already hear things that I should not be hearing as a normal person. But I do. And if it's the cup that our father served onto me, I will drink it because I guess that's a superpower. I guess at that point, I guess that's a gift at that point. What am I going to do? Deny it? It's like it's like me being given a sword, right? With blue flames all over the sword. And then there's a whole war going on. I'm behind bushes and I don't have an armor, a plaque of armor or a shield. And the only thing I have is a sword, and there are my enemies chasing me. And there's only three people. Do you think that I'm not going to use the sword? That I'm not going to be like, hey, bet I got a sword. Three people that got swords. Them, my sword is a big sword with flames, blue flames all over. You think that I'm not going to use it? I'm going to use it. I will for sure use it without no doubt, without any doubt. See, this entire journey, right, that I've been on personally, I come to find out that a lot of us were given gifts to fight the war. But if there's 12 billion people in this world, right? I'll be even generous and say that there's even 5 million people that truly believe in Christ. And that's me being generous. The truth is, that's not really the case. Majority of the people don't even reach past a million. And a million is exaggerating. So imagine 5 million of how much of an exaggeration that is out of 12 billion people on this earth that are true followers. And this is the reason why when I interact with people, I laugh, joke, be myself, but I keep in mind a reminder of who people are. Because at the end of the day, I study, I watch, I listen, I take notes, and I don't forget. One thing about me is this that I want people to remember, right? Is this when I deal with abnormalities, right? When I deal with projects that are being sent to me to spy on me, my personality, my characteristics, to see exactly the type of person that I am, agents, right? You will still not be able to figure me out. You can have all the counterfeits of the entire world. My speech don't have to give I don't have to give you the best, vocabulary word out here that could be what is it called? That can sound perfect. See, it's not about being perfect. It's about surpassing your potential of who you can be. See, a lot of people can study to act, but it's another thing being real rather than being an actor. So I don't have to act at all. I'm going to be me because at the end of the day, when I pray to my creator, I'm not anybody else but myself. So that means through my triumphs and through what my conflictions, my tribulations, my inflictions, personal, which is interior or exterior, I am myself. I don't go saying God this, God that, starting arguments with people when I already know that why would I argue with people and I know that the basis of the actual people that are supposed to lead the mass of Christians, they're not even doing what they're supposed to. So, my next question for a lot of you is, are we supposed to remove those in power that are supposed to be calling themselves Christians and replace them with those that are needed, that are actually going to do something about it, then that would die for it? Or is it the manner or is it the matter of a fact that people are just okay with the things that are happening? Because that's what it sounds like nowadays. That even the true Christians don't even care about right or wrong no more. So much that they're more so enticed, or they're more so indulged in their ego, in their hatred, in their pride, more than the truth, more than liberation, more than freedom, more than love. Those things don't even come across their mind no more because they've lost themselves. That's why that's why we have a lot of non-believers that are becoming heretics that cannot be converted in the sense of how people want them to be converted, because they already have an engraved image of how Christians behave and what is of Christ like, because there's already a history that puts a bad record on us that we are allowing. We could talk about which doctrine of us being Christian is right. We have the word, right, which are still the testimony, even if it's translated, and it's not the original, right, but it's still the truth. We have the basics. Why is it hard for people to understand the basics? It's because people don't, and when they do understand the basics, those that do understand the basics and the truth of the basics, they manipulate that to their own volition. They vice exactly how they project the truth to their own profit and their own benefit. That's why their pastors, like I was speaking to these ladies and gentlemen, that were telling me facts about pastors and ministers and supposed prophets that are prophets making profits off of our own people. And they're making close to $4 billion as a ministry annually, supposedly. But yet, there are people starving. They live in big mansions while there are people out here that have nothing. While there are people out here starving, dying because of the inequality of stupidity that's going on out here. They're too busy going to Diddy parties, you know? And I don't have no problem with that, man, because I don't know Sean Diddy Combs personally myself. And me knowing exactly how the entertainment industry is, by just having to observe them, they like to pull on a lot of stunts. So all of these allegations might actually be false. Who knows? But I don't want to make an assumption of somebody's name and I will be wrong. Therefore, they will have a reason to say something to me, which they will be right about to do so. So I'm not going to say that, hey, I don't believe nothing that Hollywood tells me. Anything that comes from their factions of their media, I don't really believe. I can keep it in mind, but I use certain things as an example. I don't want to be a part of none of that entertaining stuff because it doesn't give me the wants to even be a part of being able to sit down. I don't care how talented I am, if it's either singing, if it's either rapping, writing, playing instruments, engineering, drawing, sculpting, painting, dancing, writing scripts, books, whatever, doing research, being able to talk, communicate, whatever that it is. I don't care what it is. I'm not going to entertain people with stupidity and give people philosophies and etymologies of things that is already logical, that we don't have to go down in a certain path of knowing the truth. What is the problem? People are losing hope because of our own people, and the people that are in charge are not doing nothing about it. So, therefore, the faith, when it comes to truth, how can somebody that's blind save you if they're blind? The devils don't attack people that are blind. That's why they make a whole bunch of money. We hear a little scandal here and there, but that's because when somebody do something bad, things are going to come to light regardless. It always do. Give me one moment, please. There's nothing that you can do in the darkness that's not going to come to light. Everything that you do in darkness is going to come to light. In every aspect of what you can perceive and what you cannot perceive. And a lot of people don't know that though. And that's a harsh reality to believe because some people they don't think that that's actually true. They live their life off of what their conception recalls to free will. And let me not even get started with the double standards. Because free will, free choice doesn't matter to me, consequences exist. As much as people want to give an explanation of free will and free choice, they are under certain rules. So are they mad that they have to abide to a certain rule? Or are they mad that they know the consequences that come with a certain rule and they don't want to accept it? And one of the ladies made a great example about free will is being able, right? And she wasn't talking to me about it because I already understand what free will and free choice is. She was like saying that of course there's no restraints, but if she was to walk on the edge of a cliff and fall off, gravity, she can always walk on a cliff with her own choice, right? If she chose to, being of free will, and fall off or jump off. But now the restraint would be what? Gravity. So there's a law and there's an order to everything. So there's no free will, there's free choice in the will of what is given as an option. And there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is this: when people trying to twist the aspect by saying that our creator, right, allows. Let me really make that very clear. Hold on, give me one moment, please. But yes, they're saying that that means that our creator created sin. In some aspect you can say that, but not necessarily, okay? And the reason why I say this is because everything in this world, right? Everything in this world requires of the main important things, which is what? One, the first fact that our creator, our Elohim, made this world in the aspect of potential power. So in this reality and in this world, everything is potentially capable of existing. The physical aspect of things being able to exist because he allowed it to be so. So it's his permissive will that, okay, even though there's law and order, right? There's so much things that can be created and also destroyed. So with that, sin can also exist, although it doesn't have to. If there's something that exists, meaning everything was made in truth, meaning as what you see is truth, what you can understand which actually exists is truth, what would the word delusion or illusion come from? Unless there's an aspect of a lie that's either being told or shown. So sin can be create can is an act of something that is somewhat considered a nature. But it doesn't mean like a concept. It's a concept. So if we're living in a physical world of concepts, right? That does not mean that our creator created sin. It's like having 800 strings, right? And out of those 800 strings, if you take a red string, a black string, for example, a red string, and a blue string, and that's the formula that creates sin. That is an aspect of what sin is a concept. It doesn't mean it has to exist. And there are a lot of key factors that ties in those things. Because if we were to say that our creator created sin, you could say that in some aspect, but he did not intend sin. That's why we always have to go back. That's why when people go back to the story of Adam and Eve, a lot of people do not understand that sin is not something that was created. Because when you deviate away from life, you then become dead. So then now we have these two aspects of understanding where there is a world where anything is possible, and when there are certain things that are understood and being done, this is the results of that is given. That is sin right there. To just make it very simple without having to try to explain it any further than what I've already done. Because anybody that tries to break it down to be like, oh, this, and try to deconstruct that, there's no really any other way to really try to deconstruct it. It's very simple. It's so simple that you don't even have to think about it any harder than what I've already made it. And that was not even the depths of it for real. But it was a very basic understanding in the sense of giving it to people that cannot eat meat and they have to drink milk first. So you cannot say that sin was made in the sense of saying our creator was like, hey, I'm going to make good and I'm going to make evil. He never made evil. Like I gave you the aspect, it's a formula, it's a formulated concept that took act that was taken in action by choice that gave an outcome. So now we have this outcome that is influential and corruptive because now people are looking at it in a very in a certain perspective. Mind you, I'm gonna give you guys this before I actually land, right? Well, I'm gonna land this right here so I can end this right there. But mind you, when we look at the story of Adam and Eve, and this is what a lot of atheists, non-believers or others might call heretics, might speak of if you are either religious or you're not religious in any way, right? Meaning your own religion or an existing religion, or you're just not a believer in general. We have to remember that the Garden of Eden is a nursery. That's the same reason why Eve was what? Pregnant before she came out of the garden. Now, if women were told to bear a labor which is also in pain, why was it said that they had to leave? Why was it said after Eve had to leave? That means that the Garden of Eden was a place for multiplication, to repopulate, to reproduce. It's a root place. It's a key factor that rounds up the existence of mankind in a lot of things that revolves our genealogy. Forgive me. Put in the comment section. Genealogy. 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 I believe I said it correctly that time. Genealogy. But it references as us going back all the way then, because now we understand that what Cain was not a regular Adam baby. Forgive me, Father. It was not a regular Adam fetus, because we're given the tree of the fruit of good and evil and that of life. And this don't make sense. Why would there be two trees unless it's not two trees? It's two people in the act of doing something they were not supposed to. Now, let me put it like this. What is lust? When you lust over something, it's a feeling, right? It's a chemical reaction that is attracting towards a certain aspect of a desire. There are a lot of people, when they take narcotics, it makes them feel some type of way. Give me one moment, please. Like many narcotics, right? My apologies. They make you feel some type of way, right? So you get sexually desires of wanting to do something that is on the utmost level. And it takes you things, or it gives you reasons to want to go and defy exactly what is logic, but more so of what you feel of what you want. This is how that works. So if you're understanding what I'm saying, right? What I'm saying is this. Some people might not think about it like that because they don't realize what that means. But if a snake tells you, right, and mind you, we got to understand what there's a difference between a physical snake and what we consider somebody to be, like a characteristics of a snake. If somebody is deceiving you, right, and tells you that, hey, partake in this fruit right here, you won't die, right? You won't die, right? You won't die. You're just Some slightly die, or you will mellow out, right? You take the fruit, you get into some type of feeling, and you share it with your partner. Now you guys have a desireful lust. What does that sound like? Now, of course, I could be insinuating, but the Bible never made any type of reference to what type of fruit that was. But yet, when we look at all of the plants, right, that are somewhat getting you high or wasted or whatever the case is, those are the same effects that a lot of people get. I don't care basically type of effect. That's what they give. That's what it gives. The same way the word alcohol is a spirit. It's literally an influence. I just wanted to land with that because I didn't want to hold you guys up forever. But the topic for today was faith is given authority to manifest by Elohim. And this is of course in Saint Chronicles of Saint Luke and chapter 8. And I'll give you verse 11. Hmm? And the subject says, the seed is the word of our creator. And it says, now the parable, now the parable is this. The seed is the word of our creator, right? Do not accept going against it. Just like when Christ told us to be wary of the Pharisees and the scribes, but yet they're the same ones that transcribe the Bible, the Biblioteca, which a lot of people are reading, being the reason why there's so much dysfunction, destruction, and all of these aspects of what? Chaos and contradiction and confusion going on amongst ourselves. All of these disputes and arguments of who our doctrines is better. But yet we're all Christians, right? And our job is supposed to teach, learn from each other, edify. But no, people will yell and be like, no, you're being wrong. And then the same ones that tell you you're being wrong, they'll tell you that you have to be washed by water in order for you to be saved. When everything is dealt with the spirit, there's nothing that inclines you of a symbology or a symbolic rite of passage that requires you to be washed by water in any way. That's why even John mentioned it and said that somebody mightier than me will what? Baptize you by the fire, which we consider who? Our Elohim, which is of what? The consuming fire. But yet, the same ones that talk about their own beliefs and the traditions of the vipers, because those are the ones that kept the Old Testimony tradition, and which majority of those are, I'm going to be real honest, are the Jewish, because the Jews were the original ones that were given these scriptures and these things sacred that were held to them, that when they were taken over by Constantine and the Roman Empire, they partnered up with the Jews, right? Or the supposed Jews and those that were around then that were Armenian or Arabic or any kind that were coming either from the south, which is the north, and the west, which is the east. And they basically bombarded everything, transcribed it, kept the narrative, and called Constantine a what? A converted Christian. And the word Christian didn't even exist back then. And didn't start existing until the early 12th century. 13, I said the 12th, until, yeah, about the early 12th, 13, 12, like I would say the 6th century of our era. So I believe this is probably like probably a little bit older than that, like around like a couple of hundreds of years, or at least another, yeah, a couple hundreds of years to a couple thousands of, not a couple thousand, a couple hundreds of years after the Quran. They weren't even called Christians. So the fact that there's a layer built upon words to literally destroy our own people is phenomenal to me. And people are out here just walking in with this by faith. And they're literally, their faith is based off the church and their prophets. And mind you, I'm not saying I'm not saying that there's anybody that's not walking in Christ in truth. Because remember, Christ is our example in the condition of what our Father set before us to his expectations. We're supposed to follow after him, to be like him, to be like Christ, fully 100%, without any exception, without any exemptions. That's why he came. It's because we're so diluted by all of these mishaps of sin that became a nature of a concept to us, that we have to deal with the things of other people that are abiding by these pantheist pagan practices. Those that still practice sacrifices of blood, but yet they smile on your face on that television screen every day, and they tell you everything gonna be okay, and they're the main ones playing checkers and playing on the whiteboards and and blackboards on the chessboard every day, watching you with that singular eye every day, calling, making new attributes to their association and giving it a different name, but they're all working together. It doesn't matter how big or small, they're all grouped up together to one objective every day. And yet these are the same people expect me to follow as if I don't know them. I don't need to know people's personal life, but I do know one thing. And you know what that one thing is? I'm not a follower. I would rather die and give the spirit before I give my spirit to any devils or demons or fallens that I was made above. Then I have no problems respecting what we call angels, but a lot of people don't even know what real angels look like. They are not, they are beautiful in their own way, meaning they're made in a beautiful image of what the concept of of what they are. They don't look humanoid at all. There are some that look a little bit monstrous more than others, some distorted. They do not look like me and you with wings. That is that white tea wash. That's that white tea wash brain that they of an image they're trying to give to people, and I just can't bite onto that. I just can't, and it's way deeper than that. It's way deeper than that, brothers and sisters. It's way deeper than that. But let's look from basically verse, I believe 27 and like 23, but I'm going to make it short by reading this specific statement. And it says, after shushing the demons on the boat, Christ then met with those same with those same as they lead as with those the same with the legion as the well with those the same with them. The legions appeared and asked him to not torment them as they plead. But Christ commanded the demon to leave. End of discussion. We're given authority to understand. We're given the power to see. We're given the gift to speak. But yet people are masquerading this by giving an image to the things that are actual natural rather than the unnatural. So people think now that when you have the Holy Spirit, you just start talking gibberish out of the blue. And that's false. Let me give you this proportion of a ratio once more. Out of 12 billion people on the surface of this earth, if there is a proportion of 1 million people that are truly walking in Christ in truth, I can guarantee you majority of them do not own, all of majority of them don't speak in tongue. You have people that are able to prophesize. Some people are given revelations. Some people can heal. Some people can cast out devils. And we should all be able to do all of them, if not most of them. And the main thing is to cast out devils, because why? We are given authority when we walk in the power of our Creator. Simple, point blank, period. It does not matter what genealogy that you come from, whoever is in front of you, behind you, above you, next to you, side to side to you, below you. You have the power to tell those devils and demons to silence themselves. That is your birthright. Because when I speak to people, I could tell when people get pissed off when I talk to them, because the devils in them and the demons in them do not like me. And I'm perfectly fine with that. That's why I do not worry about those type of things, because I know what I'm speaking to. I'm not speaking to the person. I'm speaking to the spirit inside of them. It's very simple. I'm a person at the end of the day. I'm gonna enjoy life because why not? It's a gift that I was given. That don't mean that I'm gonna make an image and idolize the things that I think I want when it's not even when it's not even of my Creator, and it's not really His will. He allows it to happen. So that means that if I make it less and less and less for my will to be made, that means that His will is going to keep going further and further and being manifested in everything that I do. Some people think you got to sit down and meditate and say, when you're a Christian. No, understand that frequency matters. Yes, of course. But realize that also you are attracting the wrong type of energy sometimes when you do those type of things. Understand that when you clear your mind, right? If you don't have Christ with you and you're meditating, just trying to clear your mind from, excess heavy mass, higher density, lower mass, when you have a lot of lower mass and not in the quantity but in the quality, you're gonna attract a lot of the things that are reigning in this realm, and they're gonna come to you, and they're gonna have access to you because everything is not on a higher pitch. Let's put it like this: the things that are stuck on this earth, they cannot ascend. They are unable to ascend. And the reason why they are unable to ascend is because of the lower mass and higher density. And that's an easy way for me to say that their frequency does not match that of the heavens. And when we talk about heavens, understand that if they said so above and so below, when there's water above and if there's water above, that means there's water below. So understand that when we talk about the heavens, it's an aerial effect of a kingdom and territory of space. It's limited but unlimited to its own broad perspective at the same time. Understanding, please, I hope that you guys understand it. It's like if there are seven heavens, right? One, each one is bigger than the other. It's much broad and bigger than the other. Now, some people they're gonna be like, hey, obviously the bigger heaven is gonna be the seventh heaven, which is no. The bigger heaven is actually the ones that's closer to the earth. Because there's a hierarchy. They don't need nothing but our creator in their presence. So when the closer you are to the source, the less you need, higher mass, lower density. So imagine having a tube, right? And a needle. And one end of the needle, right, is bigger than the other. So it's like, imagine it like this. If you have a monocle or a magnifying glass, when light shines through that magnifying glass, it becomes intense, right? There are different aspects of photon that is being refracted. My apologies. That are being refracted and showed. So one state that could be very what we consider macro to a microscopial level. I said that word perfectly. To a microscopial level. So bigger to small, right? That's what you would think. But when we look at light, light is everywhere, right? Light is everywhere. So the light that is everywhere condenses itself from big that it could be understood, that could be seen. Maybe it could be it can it's not understood, but then it starts to point itself in an understandable way that singularly aims in a certain direction. That's why I use the needle, because everything is no longer disordered. It starts to assemble together. So in the higher of the heavens, the smaller aerial effect there is needed, because what more are you going to need more than your creator? You're closer to the source more than everything else. And more than everything else that's in the lower mass. And this is why people are not understanding life, because they cannot understand that concept. And when you pass a certain level of the heavens, forgive me for that. When you pass a certain level of the heavens, you will eventually meet a wall that's going to separate you. And it's not necessarily a physical wall. A wall is something that just separates the ability of something in its natural state to what? To naturally pass through in a different dimension. But we're not going to get too far into that, brothers and sisters. I already said enough more than I should have. Much love to you all. And I pray that this sermon comes upon anyone that is intrigued and that is interested in learning these things. Like I make my videos always. If you would like to use this video, always give the truth of the video and the narrative. And if you want to shout me out, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine. But don't be lying to people. There will be consequences. And that is of your own volition. And I stated these words so there will be no saying, oh, he didn't say this, and that's why I slipped down the steps and now my pinky toe hurt. All right. I didn't tell you. Remember I told you these things. I don't pray for the bad for you or anything like that. But as far as everything else, if you want to use this video, whatever the case is, tell the truth and always give the truth, and always everything that you say should be the truth. Because I do not like lies. I don't appreciate lies. I really don't. So much love to you all. Much favor unto you and everything else. And I pray for discernment, because there's a lot of spirits of contradiction and confusion that is going around right now in the entire world. And the world is coming short and shorter and shorter and shorter to the realization of the actual faith in Christ and of our Elohim and our Adonai. That's why there's so much things going on right now, because a lot of people are failing to understand that. But one day the truth will come and it will be presented before us all. And it's going to come very short. It's going to come quickly. It's not going to take 1,000 years. It's going to come within these times, very shortly and very quickly. Judgment will come. For a lot of people that don't believe, you will believe once you see it with your own very eyes. So I pray that that time do not come, and I pray that that time do come, but I pray that a lot of you understand it before the time come. So much love to you all. And no, I'm not saying that I know the time and the day that it will happen. I'm not talking about the end days. I'm talking about judgment. We all have a period of judgment upon our lives, physically, mentally, spiritual, and emotionally. Everybody gets judged to a certain extent. With much love. If nobody told you they love you today, I love you. All right. And if somebody says that they say they don't want my love, well, I don't care. They got to take that love anyways. Another one. DJ Khaled, another one. And I will say this. Um, much love again. Take care.